What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, first, I'd like to apologize for uploading on a Monday instead of a Sunday, which is my usual schedule. Um, I had a busy day yesterday. I mean, I went to the gym and then I ate like food, so just I really didn't have time to make a video, guys. But today, we're switching up the format a little bit, so we're not talking about books. We're not going to talk or play a scary video game. Chef Part 2 coming out soon. I've been delayed on the video game because it was just really scary, so I don't even know if I'm gonna go back and play it, honestly, because I had nightmares and shit after. But today we are doing a movie review. That's correct. We're gonna be talking about Nosferatu, and I'm a little late to the party. I actually watched this movie about a week or two ago, and I'm just not making a review because I didn't know what else video to make because I haven't finished reading a book yet. I didn't want to play the video game. So today we're going to be talking about Nosferatu. And before I really get into it, let me establish first that I am not a movie guy. I like movies, so I would say I'm nuanced in the all the steps and strategies to filmmaking. I lived with a film major for about a year of my life, and so I feel like that qualifies me to say whatever I want and it be correct. But on a serious note, um, really, you're just getting the average Joe's opinion from this movie review. Whereas when I talk about like the book stuff, you're getting like a slightly above average Joe's opinion. Uh, not even that maybe, but so I decided to break this video up into two halves. So this first half, we're just going to talk about the movie stuff about it, like how it looked, maybe some scenes that I really liked, and the lighting. Yeah, and then I'm thinking the second half of the video, we're going to talk about like the actual story of or the story structure of the movie. If I enjoyed it, how I felt about the characters, and stuff of that nature. All right, so to get into the actual movie stuff, this is my second Robert Edgers film. I've also seen The Lighthouse, which I also really like. The Lighthouse. I fell asleep during it, but I thought it was a good movie. Um, one thing that I do remember from The Lighthouse, the one thing that did stick out to me was just sort of the environment that Robert Edgers was able to create, or like the mood of the movie. And I've heard that's like one of his strong points, is sort of the aesthetic that he can establish, sort of that like dark, brooding energy in a movie. And I like The Lighthouse. I think he does an even better job of it in this movie, Nosferatu. Um, for those who've seen it, one scene I really like is when Nosferatu or Count Orlok, whatever you want to call him, uh, you can see the shadow of his hand like reaching over the town because he's sort of like trying to sort of symbolizes like his influence on like a plague that he's sort of spreading through the town, his influence over the people of the town. Because upon his arrival, there is a huge like pandemic type of outbreak sickness that happens, and so like the infirmary is like completely overfilled. But that scene is shot so awesome. Just seeing his like the shadow of his hand slowly go over the town. That was one shot that I like left the theater thinking about. That one was really nice. But just the film in general, a lot of the set pieces and stuff were awesome. It takes place in, I'm gonna say like the 16, 17, 1800. No, because there's really not knights walking around. Maybe like the 1800s, probably like around like when the American Revolution was, if you know when that was, that time period. And I thought all the costumes seemed pretty accurate to the time period. I mean, I know nothing about that time period, but it just felt right to me. Um, but yeah, he was able to incorporate that dark, brooding feel into this movie pretty well. There is some scenes that are like pretty dark. They're not like lit too well, but I think that's the purpose. Like when old Thomas goes to meet Count Orlok to establish the deal, because Count Orlok has purchased a piece of residence in the city, and so for Thomas to get a promotion in his company, he has to go to Count Orlok and sort of transport him or be his companion on the travel back, which that just doesn't happen. But Yeah, no, I mean, like movie wise, gorgeous movie. This is definitely like a movie person's movie. The way that all the visuals are just like super great. So you really can't complain. This is definitely a movie I'm glad that I saw in the theaters as well because it was a really good theater experience. Now to transition to the second half of this video, where we're going to talk about the actual story structure, story arc that is Nosferatu. Um, So just to give a sort of super brief outline of what this story is about, it's the classic tale of this evil spirit gets resurrected, this evil entity is resurrected, and now the humans, the good guys, have to kill it and stop it from spreading its curse or whatever. It's one of those stories. So nothing too revolutionary, honestly. That doesn't take too many uh creative liberties with that story arc. I don't think you end up finding out that the girl is sort of the key to solving the issue, which is sort of a common art and in media. But instead of like her having a special bloodline to kill the vampire, or her having a special family heirloom dagger that or stake that is the only thing that can penetrate the vampire to kill him. So her special power is if she sleeps with him, he dies. I'll admit that that was a bit rash and archaic the way I described that. It's definitely more nuanced and of a relationships in that they do have a special relationship with each other. The movie opens with the main character. I'm gonna look up her name real quick. I'm gonna keep it rolling. All right, so Ellen, who's the main girl, uh, the movie starts out. We see her sort of make a sort of like pact or oath to Count Orlok, Nosferatu, the vampire. And she sort of explains this later in the film that she did this because she was, alone and she needed help, and she didn't really see anyone else being that source for her. And so, as a last resort, she makes a deal with the devil, and now he's back, and he wants what's his, and he will definitely let you know that. I mean, he's kind of freaky. I'm not sure if this film was marketed as horror, but there is certain sections of the movie that I think are pretty good horror scenes, especially like when Nosferatu like raises from his coffin after Thomas tries to kill him, and you just see his like little flaccid wiener. He's sitting there. It's pretty scary, honestly. Um, despite the nudity, but honest to God, the whole scene with Thomas when he goes to make the business deal with Count Orlok in his like sort of secluded manner, that whole scene was very tense, very scary. It's one of my favorite scenes because I mean, you put yourself in the shoes of Thomas, and you're honest to God terrified. Like, there's no wonder he was shaking. Like, I probably would start crying, honestly, if I was in his situation. So that scene was pretty scary. Other than that, there's not too much horror. The movie starts with a jump scare of sorts, which was, it's a jump scare. It wasn't anything, come and go. Oh, I was scared. Okay, let's move on. But when the horror was there, it was done pretty well. Character wise, none of the characters really compelled me too much, honestly. I think Friedrich was a pretty interesting character because he's the one that's sort of like you guys are crazy talking about voodoo stuff with this vampire coming back. So he was sort of like what like the everyday person's perspective might be. Of course, Helen, uh, knows the truth because she's been face to face with the vampire, so she, of course, has a reason to believe. Um, we also have Willem Dafoe's character, who was like a exiled professor because he starts studying this like sort of voodoo magic that is occurring in the 16, 17, 1800s. And he does a good job with that character, of course. I mean, it's William Dafoe or Willem Dafoe. I'm sure it's hard to find a film where he doesn't do a good job. So, I mean, I think I liked his character in The Lighthouse more than I did his character in Nosferatu, but he doesn't really show up till halfway through the movie, anyways. But other than that, I know I just mentioned putting myself in the shoes of Thomas, but I don't think he's necessarily too of a compelling character. He's just trying to get promoted up the ranks in his job to, provide a good life for him and his newlywed. I think they're married or they're going to be. And then he just goes through hell. Honestly, poor guy. But yeah, character work. I mean, none of the characters had me thinking about them after the movie, with the exception of maybe the vampire, and that's only because I found out that he's played by Bill Skarsgård, who also plays Pennywise, and that guy is just great at playing freaks. I mean, I mean, yeah. To sort of wrap up this little movie review, I hate to say this, but I sort of feel like the story was the Trojan horse, but the real point was sort of the aesthetic and how Robert Eggers can sort of create a world and how real and gritty it can feel. Because the story is really not that. I don't want to say it's not interesting, but it's very kind of cookie cutter. You have the girl who's possessed. We have to get rid of the evil. Um, None of the characters were like too interesting, honestly, but that's sort of like I mentioned earlier. This is definitely if you're into movies and like the process of making a movie, I think you'll love this movie. Um, if you guys didn't know, I actually do work at a movie theater, and so some of the people I work with are movie people, and they all loved it. So reasonably so, because I do think if you're looking for the sort of if you're watching this movie from that perspective, you'll like it. I still think it's an enjoyable movie, even if you're not a movie person. It's just your classic horror, but our horror vampire story. But that's just about it. Classic horror vampire story. It's pretty, in that regard, I'd say it's 7, 8, average in that rank. But if you're going for the aesthetic and the production of the movie, then it is probably very, very well done. If I had to guess. But yeah, guys, I enjoyed Nosferatu. I don't think I was as crazy about it as some people I know are, but I also didn't hate it as much as some people that I know have said that they didn't like it. I'd say it's just sort of middle of the pack, middling. It's good for me, but not great. But depending on your audience or who you are, you can see it being great or not too good. So, but that'll be it for today, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, of course, if you want me to do more movie reviews. But yeah, that'll be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.